Hello, good people. Welcome in to another edition of the Poker News Podcast. Jeff Platt alongside Chad Holloway. So, Chad, my man, this is where I just turned it over to you. You know, this is week 2 of the podcast. It's just week 2, but I already feel comfortable enough giving you that lead role, that Sarah Herring role, mainly because I'm just trying my best to save my voice. This is not the best week to lose my voice, considering it is the week of Rob's home game on PokerGO.
Yeah, and I actually got a chance to watch you in the booth last night with who was it, Joey Ingram and Brent Hanks.
Yes, sir.
It was a heck of a cash game. We're definitely going to talk about that a little later on in this episode. And we're also going to speak with some guests that you caught up with at the RunGood Harrah's North Kansas City stop. Tana Karn, he's the president of the RunGood Poker Series, a good friend of both of us. And then Barstool Nate everybody knows who Barstool Nate is. So.
I think let's just, I'll give a little bit about that time in Kansas City before we get to some of our top stories. So like we talked about last week, I was there for the RunGood stop, played a bunch of their tournaments, and just really enjoyed my time there. I did not get a ring like you have from one of the RunGood tournaments, but I think it's a good sign when you can go on a poker trip, lose money, have a good time. That kind of shows you what RunGood Poker is all about. Terrific atmosphere. And from RunGood, Chad, to Run It Once, because we wouldn't be here without the good people at Run It Once. Unfortunately for us, we cannot play Run It Once, but we're very jealous of everybody outside the United States of America who can go in, who can fire off on Phil Galfon's site. I know we both think that Phil is doing an incredible job with that site. It can only grow from here. And listeners of this podcast, this very podcast, can get a special rakeback deal if they go to once.run/pnpod. That's once.run/pnpod. You get the exclusive rakeback deal, Chad. So it's all pretty good with Run It Once.
Yeah, you're going to hear a lot more about them in the news too. In fact, we just wrote about it on PokerNews. Phil Galfond has issued his Galfond Challenge, where he's issued a challenge to various businessmen or other coaches in the industry to play high stakes pot limit Omaha. And so far, 2 people have taken him up on it. Bill Perkins in the businessman category, and then Fernando Habegger, who's better known as Jay Nandez 87 online. So I'm pretty excited about that as somebody who used to kind of be a virtual railbird, wrote the online railbird report for many years for PokerNews. It's been a while since there's been some good high stakes games. So if Galfond can bring that back to online poker and host it at Run It Once, I'm all about it.
Yeah, I can't wait for them to go at it. That'll be a lot of fun to watch.
Speaking of the high stakes cash games, I mean, Rob's home game on PokerGO, I tuned in late last night. I caught the tail end of it, but they said there was like over $4 million, close to $5 million on the table.
Yeah, we got up to 5 at one point at the very end of the night. I mean, when you're playing 501K with a 1K big blind ante, with random straddles all over the place, with sleeper straddles, with Rick Solomon in the game, it's going to go off the rails, and it did. There were 100K pots on the regular. I think our biggest pots were like around 500K. So that's just going to keep up. At the time of taping this podcast, today's episode of Rob's home game will feature Sam Trickett and Jason Kuhn. So massive stakes. And what do you think, Chad, about the pace of play? Was it a little refreshing? Because they're like boom, 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 boom. There was absolutely no tanking at all.
Yeah, no, I really liked it. I think that's what needs to happen when you're going to host a game that's kind of being televised. Is people want to see action. People don't want to watch somebody sit in the tank for 2, 3, 4 minutes. I'm sure it's got to make your life a lot easier too. As a commentator, you don't have to fill that dead air. You can just, the action's going so fast that you can just follow along, describe what's happening, and make a quip here or there.
And we had Phil Hellmuth and Jean Robert on there,
Right.
so the job as commentator was pretty easy. So props to Rob Young. He wanted to play high stakes, wanted to do it on PokerGO. So props to Poker Central and Party Poker for putting all this together.
What was the? Because like I said, I tuned in late.
Yeah.
What was the biggest pot that happened last night?
I think Rob won a pretty big one off Rick Solomon. Phil Hellmuth doubled up early with kings against Rick Solomon's tens for about a $430,000 pot. So those 2 are the ones that stand out in my mind. And, we only expect bigger ones for the rest of the week. So that this will air through Friday. We have 4 separate days of Rob's home game action, so it should be a lot of fun.
It's I watch those games, I enjoy them, but sometimes I can't help but think like, oh well, that turn bet right there was my yearly salary. And it's just a turn bet for them with their flush draw or their bluff.
It's remarkable to think about, man. It really is.
One thing that I did catch on the stream was Phil Hellmuth having a conversation with the rest of the table. During it, he revealed that he gives away his bracelets whenever he wins them. He's had 15. He gives them to friends and family. And he was talking about his first ever one, the 1989 main event, which you would think would be the premier bracelet. And he revealed during the broadcast that that bracelet is missing. Not as in like recently stolen or something, but more so just misplaced somewhere over the past 3 decades. He just doesn't know what happened to it or where it went, which led me to believe, like, I live in Wisconsin. I live an hour away from where Hellmuth lived at that time. So I'm thinking maybe he came back to Madison. Maybe he lost it here. Maybe I need to start looking in thrift stores and hitting the pawn shops and seeing if I can't track this bracelet down.
You can go on a treasure hunt of sorts. Yeah, that was shocking to me. I mean, that's the premier one. That's beating Johnny Chan heads up for the title. It catapulted him. That was the first of 15 bracelets. And you texted me right when you heard Hellmuth talking about it, and you texted somebody else about it, right?
Yeah, I meant to text you, like, we need to talk about that story on the podcast. And I don't know, in my head, it must have just got confused because I ended up texting Hellmuth. I said, we need to talk about Phil Hellmuth's missing 1989 WSOP main event bracelet. And that's all I sent. I didn't say on the podcast or something. So he just texted me back, okay. So he must have thought I was talking about him in like the third person or something. And so I guess at some point I'll probably have an interview with Phil Hellmuth to dive into that story a little bit more, see if we can't jog his memory a little bit about what might have happened to that bracelet.
Yeah, maybe it worked out for the best for you, huh? You get a feature article on Hellmuth and the missing main event bracelet.
Yeah, let's hope he wins on night 2 of this cash game, though, so he's in a good mood, wants to chat, because I've seen sour Hellmuth, and he's not usually up for many interviews. So. Well, Jeff, let's give a shout-out to one of the sponsors this week, PokerChips.com. Did you plan on buying another lousy gift for your friends or loved ones this holiday season? Did you have a plan at all? Because I know I've been slacking on my shopping. But, show them you care with a customized poker chip set with PokerChip.com's free online customization. You can personalize a gift in under 60 seconds. And you can enjoy 25% off your order of custom clay poker chips when you check out with promo code PokerNews19. That's PokerNews19 on PokerChips.com, and restrictions apply. Once again, PokerChips.com. Use promo code PokerNews19 to save 25% off your order. All right, Jeff, let's go back to the RunGood. And, if you're watching on video, this time I came prepared with props. And if you're listening on the podcast, I'm showing off my ring, my RunGood ring.
That's so pretty.
Yeah, to Jeff, that he went down there to win one. But, Jeff.
I'm so annoyed.
Yeah, what happened?
Well, I had chips in one tournament, and then those chips went away on day 2. And then I made day 2 of the main with no chips, and then had even less chips because my very little chips went away. So it's not the most successful stop in the world from the poker standpoint. But as I mentioned earlier, Chad, it wasn't just about the poker. It was about the camaraderie that you and I always enjoy when we go on these RunGood trips. And I was able to catch up with not only the president of RunGood, the boss man, Tana Karn, but Barstool Nate made his first RunGood stop in Kansas City. I've gotten to know Barstool Nate, co-host of the Cracking Aces podcast, over the last year or so. I think, Barstool has really developed its interest in poker, and that's just really good for the game. So let's do it. Let's just toss to it. Let's start with Tana's interview, and then we'll go right into Barstool Nate's. All right, and just like that, joining us now on the PokerNews podcast, the boss man of RunGood, Mr. Tana Karn. Tana, we last spoke in Kansas City. We're in the fitness center in the spring. How has the RunGood tour grown since we last spoke?
Oh, it's like night and day. It's you wake up and you go through puberty, and you wake up the next morning, you're like 6'9". It's been insane. No, it's grown a ton. been very lucky to have some great players that follow the tour, but more importantly, more showing up. New people have never played tournament poker before, new people that are new to casinos, folks from bar leagues, folks from home games. I mean, people are coming out, and it's such a great opening event for them to come into the industry and see what tournament poker is about, but also what the RunGood Poker Tour is about. And it's really just skyrocketed from when we did Showbound with PokerGO. Mm-hmm. You know, we made some dreams come true, and people heard about it, saw it. You know, 2 people lived it. And of course, the next season that we're currently on are actually finishing up here, the championship ring season. We got some amazing looking rings, giving out to every event winner. People are just loving it, loving the rings, loving the atmosphere, loving the theme. Game 7 championship jerseys. I've seen so many throwbacks. It's been a lot of fun, and more importantly, I think, is just like knowing that you get to come to one of these events and just knowing that it's gonna be a party and a good time, and you're gonna see old faces, you're gonna make, you know, new friends, and obviously, you know, poker is some win, some lose, but at the end of the day, everyone has a great time.
Let's hit the stop in Kansas City first, and then we'll branch out. How pleased are you with the turnout this week here at Harrah's?
Oh, I mean, like over the moon pleased. Numbers have been records. You know, we had, I think, 273 for the first flight on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Just our pro bounty. It was crazy. I know we had a bunch of alternates, so we're definitely looking to, you know, add more tables for next season. And this stop is definitely one that's growing exponentially. And it's just, you know, we're very lucky to have such a strong player base in Kansas City, but more importantly, everyone that travels from, like, you know, Des Moines, St. Louis, you know, even Arkansas, Oklahoma. I mean, and the beauty of it is, you know, that being said, is just, it's crazy how many people have, you know, either come on for another stop and then all of a sudden be like, hey, when's your last stop? So Kansas City got really lucky in being the last stop for the season and the last chance to win a ring. So people are coming out and making sure that they take home a piece of history. You know, our first inaugural ever ring we've ever done. So we'll definitely be looking at perhaps doing it again next season. But numbers have been great. Atmosphere has been awesome. The deep stack had another record number, like nearly 500 entries. Satellites have been going crazy. The main event last night had about 113. So, I mean, everything's on the up and up, and we're going to be closing out the year, you know, on a really high note, and hopefully curtailed into, you know, the GPI awards. I had to name drop into that one a little bit.
There we go. The winners for mid-major tour of the year, trying to go back to back. You point out the atmosphere. How would you describe the atmosphere at RunGood events to somebody who's never played a RunGood tournament?
Yeah, no, it's like a home game. Honestly, it's like going into a room or like a house party, and everyone, you know, cheers your name. Like, I guess it's the old TV show Cheers. Everyone knows your name. It's very similar, and you know, that's the philosophy we always brought, was we wanted to have a tournament series where it was affordable, and the buy-ins, you know, were in the $100 to $500 range. But more importantly, it's where you still get that big stage feel, you know, with the photography, the live reporting, the prizes, just everything in between. And you know, we've really found our niche and our stride in doing that, and it's working and showing. And you know, that's something like when someone comes in and they're coming in from a bar league where, you know, everyone's joking around in a bar league. It's exact same atmosphere. Everyone's laid back. There's definitely a little bit more structure to it. So, you know, and you don't have to deal. You don't have to hand deal yourself.
That's nice.
Yeah. So no one yells at you when you flip a card over, which is a blessing. So no, it's because of that and that atmosphere. And, you know, it's funny. There's a table last night, and you know, sometimes in tournaments you get some really unique tables, and when you say unique tables, it's a certain amount of players that are just want to have fun. And there's definitely a table like that last night. You know, I mean, there's definitely some slow rolling, obviously, all in good fun. Some jokes, some drinks. You know, and the only reason I know about all this is because my dad was on the table. Yeah. And so, of course, I got an earful about it. I got a bunch of text messages, and apparently there was a moment where everybody wanted to do a shot at the table. And this is the main event, right? It's like everyone's supposed to be serious. Right. Yeah, but no, not the case. Like, everyone wanted to do a shot, and they wanted to do a shot with my dad. And I was like, oh, here we go. And then they're like, well, I'm not doing a shot unless Pops does a shot. And I was like, I was like, Dad, you're on your own. Like, good luck. Like, choose whatever you want. And then so everyone's like expecting him, like, everyone like threw in some suggestions like surfer on acid, lemon drops, and it was purple gator. Some of the easy shots to take. I mean, we're old, right? I mean, we're getting older, and taking just straight whiskey sometimes is a little bit tougher in the morning. So, and he basically just like deadpans everyone. Everyone's waiting for his answer. The lights dim, and it just goes Patron.
My man.
And the whole table was like, all right, Patron it is. And of course there's that one guy who's like, no, I'm good. I'm gonna do a fireball. Yeah. And then of course just gets berated for the next 3 hands. But it's just that kind of atmosphere where everyone is joshing each other, and having fun and playing cards, and of course just making it a good time for everyone around them.
Yeah, I was at that table with the legendary Papa Karn, and it was absolutely awesome. It was incredibly entertaining, to say the least, and I feel like RunGood brings that kind of atmosphere on a daily basis throughout all of the different stops. All right, so we've talked about this past season. What can you tell us about what you have lined up for the next season ahead?
Yeah, no, there's a ton of stuff. We've actually are going to be in 2 new locations, hopefully 4 total, but for sure we just signed a new a casino in San Diego. Nice. Lovely San Diego.
Nice.
Ron Burgundy's stomping grounds. So it's at Hamal Casino. They just opened up a new poker room. It's about 20 minutes outside of downtown San Diego. Really looking forward to that one. That's the end of February. And then, of course, we got the call from Mr. Ben Irwin up there in Sacramento, with Thunder Valley, just a powerhouse casino in California. They host a bunch of championships. They host the Deep Stacks. They host, Ante Up. It's the circuit, of course, as well. But just being able to go into that property with those other tours is huge. And Ben's been great, super enthusiastic about us getting up there. We'll be actually doing the Poker Industry Championship again up in there. So we're going to do it a little bit bigger. It's going to be on the West Coast, so hopefully it's a little bit easier for people to travel into.
I'm going to come after it this year.
Yeah, no, please do. Yeah.
And Chad Holloway, co-host on this podcast, has already mentioned his win about 17 times, so I'll make sure that we erase all of that talk.
Yeah, that's it's the more the merrier, and I think Ben's really excited about it, and he's excited to bring in all of his TD friends and his dealers, and really get that tournament going big. But more importantly, just 2 new stops on the West Coast, so we're definitely branching out, and of course, we're working on some big things with PokerGO again. The Showbound season was such a huge success, and just the fact that we're sending people who would never in a million years get an offer to play in poker after dark. We're doing something differently, where we're actually going to be sending 32 people to come play on a televised event, almost in a sorts of a pro-am. I'm not going to tell you too much more, as it's still in the works, but it's definitely it's about 98% done. We'll be releasing it probably the end of the month, but let's just say it's going to be one heck of a party in the PokerGO studios in December.
Okay, that is quite the tease. Did it make you, I don't know if proud is the right word, but I'll go with it, proud to see those guys on Poker After Dark coming from the RunGood tour?
Oh my God, yeah, no, I was super, super proud and super sad, and I got to talk to each of them. Woody was one of them, and then of course Clyde was the other. Both different cuts of poker. Woody, he's a young kid. He grinds. He plays 2-5. He plays, actually plays a lot bigger games too. And it was just really cool. Like all his friends came out, and they all were sweating him at the table and stuff. And he got to sit next to Maria Ho, and anytime you get to sit next to Maria Ho is an awesome experience. So he got to do that. And of course, Clyde had something very similar. Him and his wife watch PokerGO every night to go to bed and stuff. I mean,
love it.
The absolute biggest fan of the platform, and more importantly, the biggest fan experience for him to get it to come out and be on PokerGO himself. The ultimate souvenir as well. His episode is now in the archives of PokerGO Forever and Poker After Dark. And it was just so cool because I got to fly out there, hang out with them for a little bit, got to see them play, and just getting to see just how excited their friends were, and Clyde's wife came out, and then of course Woody's friends were out there, and I got to talk to them, and just how exciting it was. And I think that's just kind of one of those things that's really hopefully going to bring more people to poker, is that it's people seeing other people playing poker and having fun with it and seeing how cool it is and then having them check it out. And it just kind of grows exponentially from there. And that's hoping what we'll create for next season with the Pro-Am event. But it's almost indescribable about how much pride and how much excitement I had watching them and getting them to play, and then of course watching it back on the archives for PokerGo. But nothing but good things, and really looking forward to the next one.
And finally, Tana, do you allow yourself to look down the road and consider what you think the RunGood tour will look like, or what you want it to look like in, say, 5 years, 10 years?
Oh yeah, no, I mean it's crazy. We've been placed in a position where we could really go anywhere. We're instead of in a car, we're in a hovercraft. We're just we're literally just, if the wind blows a certain direction and that's where we want to take it, we'll take it. If the wind blows another way, we'll just go with the flow. And that's the beauty of something. It's not necessarily like a good or bad thing, but we're a mom and pops. We're not owned by a casino. We're not publicly traded. So it's a little different. We get to enjoy making decisions based on player experiences, and that's what we really want to hype on. That's where we just kind of found where we are successful, because we really want to make opportunities and things for players that normally aren't able to do it, just based on location or time or bankrolls or whatever. With that big stage feel and the affordable buy-ins, and then also all the extra icing on top with all the prizes and the sponsors that support us, it's just been a really cool thing where 5 years, 10 years now, I just want to be doing the same thing. Hopefully bigger prizes, more things for our players to enjoy season in, season out. Obviously new locations, with San Diego getting signed and Sacramento getting signed. East Coast, if you're out there, we're trying. We're trying. We'll get there eventually as well. And I think it's just kind of one of those things where I would love to see us, pretty much everywhere possible for someone who can't travel, to at least be within like a 3-hour drive, and then have them check out, even if it's one event. I promise it's going to be one of the funnest tournaments you'll be at, just from the atmosphere and the people involved and the people that follow the tour. And that's other than that, I mean, I try not to plan too far ahead, because we always want to, my team will make fun of me if they listen to this interview, but the number one thing I always say to the casino partners and also the team when we're on tour is, everyone has a plan until you get punched in the face. And, getting punched in the face is just part of business and part of growing up and figuring everything out as an adult. And no definite plans, but definitely some goals in mind.
Well, as I said earlier in this show, and I've said before, I love what you guys are doing. I think that these tour stops are great. I'm excited to see what you have in store for the future. Thank you for the time today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff.
All right, and just like that, joining us now, he is the host of the Cracking Aces podcast, and he also finished 529 in the Big 50, in the biggest tournament in the history of the game. You finished 529th.
It's the worst brag of all time. Oh, yeah, I finished 529th. Yeah. Cool.
Well, you made history. You cashed in the biggest poker tournament ever in the history of the world.
It was
history.
The sickest needles after busting 529th. Like, great job, great job. I was like, since when did we start congratulating people on 529th?
Well, you're a celebrity. This is Barstool Nate, by the way. So I feel like more people are prone to congratulate. Well, I already did. I said host of Cracking Aces podcast, and also finished whatever in the Big 50. We don't have time to go back and do it again. PokerNews podcast, real time restriction. So what brings you out to Kansas City in this RunGood stop? What made you want to fire off in one of these main events?
You know what they say, anytime you can take a weekend out of New York City to go to Kansas City, you got to do it.
Is that what they say?
Yeah, that's what they say. They call Kansas City the Emerald City for a reason.
Yeah.
And I'm here. It's beautiful. It's lovely. I saw the Missouri River. I never thought I would ever see the Missouri River.
Fantastic.
And so now I have, and I'm excited to play in the main event. It's great value. I'm a little rusty at poker, so I should fit right in, and I'm excited. That was mean. I apologize. And no, I'm super stoked to play, though. Like, I love playing whenever I can. I don't get a whole lot of chances to play anymore. Yeah. So I take advantage of any opportunity, and this is perfect for me. Low buy-in. The guarantee is 100K. It's going to be smashed, so first place should be pretty healthy. And I'm just like, I guess by the time this comes out, people will know how I did or no.
Yeah, if you won or not.
All right, so let's just. I did a great job.
Yeah, you did. Congratulations.
I ran really well, but I also, I got pretty comfortable and I played pretty well. I settled down and I made some hands and I got a lot of value and I made
winner's interview.
I made a great run.
Yeah. I'm on my sixth bullet when I was eliminated day one on Saturday. I imagine you're looking forward to playing in an atmosphere like this, a kind of jovial spot. Everybody at the table's talking, having a good time. Nobody's like super serious.
Yeah, that's the worst part of live poker is people who take it way too seriously. Right. I know we're
Especially
playing
in a buy-in like this.
I know we're playing for money and it's people's hard-earned money. It's my, I get it, but that's kind of why I love like tournaments like this, and the RunGood tour it's kind of like a common man type of tour where it, like you said, it's jovial, people are talking, it's not overly serious, and you kind of you get your money's worth. You're having a good time, but you're also playing for a decent chunk of change.
What's it been like for you and Jake entering this poker podcast space over the last year or so?
It's great. I love doing it. I didn't really ever have an interest in podcasting, and then they're huge, and a lot of people have one, and Jake is one of my best friends, and he's a world-class poker player, and we kind of were just talking about it one day, and it's like, well, I'm bad at poker, and you're really, really good at poker, so the dynamic there works really well. He can explain strategy via the podcast extremely well and break down concepts so anybody can understand it, and then I'm learning while doing the podcast, but I'm also asking the questions that, the common fish at the table has, where, bet sizing questions, position questions, bankroll questions. And plus he has a lot of fun stories about, just being a professional poker player. My favorite being, back when he was still a student at Penn State, he was at Turning Stone, and he won an F-Tops. He beat Brian Hastings heads up to win the F-Tops for $450K, no chop. Woo! And then he took a Greyhound bus back to Penn State the next morning and went to his 8 a.m. class.
Unbelievable.
And then dropped out of school later that day.
Yeah.
But he took a Greyhound after winning $450K back to Happy Valley and went to class.
Oh, that's pretty awesome. Are you sensing that there's an increased sense of interest in poker from the stoolies, as they call them, from the Barstool community?
Yeah, the best is when you get a message like, I haven't played in a while, and I went to the casino to play, and had a great time. And that's kind of my entire idea of starting the podcast is get people interested again, remind people that it's like a fun game that you play at home with your buddies, or you go play at the local casino for the $100 daily, and you can just have like a great time playing. I like to post fun hands either from Twitch or that are broadcasted on PokerGO.
There we go.
And just remind people like this game's wild, like there's characters in it, like bad beats. People love bad beat hands. I love sharing those, and just anything to get just new eyeballs and new players into poker or rejuvenate people's interest in it. That's my main goal. And, little by little, brick by brick, I think we're doing it.
The Big Blind Barstool episode premieres on Friday, December 13th.
Okay.
It's you.
That's Taylor Swift's birthday, by the way.
Oh, there we go. And I know you're a big
her
Taylor
30th.
Swift.
Yeah, she just put out a new Christmas song today.
Okay.
It's one of the greatest songs I've ever heard.
That's great. Anyways, The Big Blind, Friday, December 13th. It's going to be you, Barstool Smitty, and PFT. What can fans expect from that episode?
No spoilers.
No spoilers, yeah. No spoilers.
Well, PFT is a very smart person.
Yes.
I am a semi-smart person.
Yes, you are.
And then there's also Smitty. So, expect what you...
He's there.
He showed up.
Yeah, right.
It was a lot of fun. I had a great time doing the Big Blind. I'm glad that Brent paid my appearance fee.
Nope, he was not paid.
Brent paid my appearance fee, and
no contestants were paid appearance fees.
I was paid a large appearance fee.
Free rolls for all, but nobody's paid. Go ahead.
And I had a wonderful time doing it, and I appreciate Brent doing that for me.
Okay, there we go. That is Barstool Nate. It is the Cracking Aces podcast. Good luck in the main event in Kansas City, or congratulations on your
title.
Should we do like 2 takes of
Oh
this?
yeah,
Like,
and in 3, 2. Well, congratulations, Nate. Great score.
Thank you. You know, I had a great time playing, and I appreciate you having me on this podcast that we recorded before I won.
Yeah, you got it. And then the next one in 3, 2. Well, Nate, it was a heck of a run, but nothing you could do there.
There's nothing you can do. You know,
Yeah.
you get in that spot, you play the cards you're dealt, and sometimes they just have it. But I had a great time nonetheless.
You get it in with Queen 8 off for 60 bigs. Sometimes they have aces. Good game. All right, you the man. Thanks.
Love you.
All right, well, a big thank you to Tana Karn and Barstool Nate. Little jealous that I wasn't down there with you guys, but I had my RunGood time, the stop before that, and the cruise, so no complaints from me. Jeff, before we get to some news and notes this week, I want to give another shout out to Gripst, a sponsor here of the PokerNews podcast. Gripst is the all-in poker program brought to you by Evan Jarvis, who actually hosts a podcast on occasion here on PokerNews.com, and the Gripst Poker Training. This is one program you definitely need to know about. Evan Jarvis is a poker coach, holistic life coach, and poker player, and has 15 years in the game. He's learned some major keys to success and taught them to countless players. And when I say countless players, you're going to be pretty impressed. He, you know, if you took note of the breakout performance of Ali and Surovic or Ben Heath in 2019, you might be interested to know that they started their poker journey with the Gripst Poker Training in 2014. So Charlie Carroll, another poker crusher, also started out by watching the Gripst Bankroll Challenge in 2013, then hitting the tables and, of course, never looking back. So, you know, and what's the real key to their success? The right mindset, the right strategic foundation to build on, you know, and a sound understanding of tournament dynamics. And that's what the all-in poker program will teach you about, all 3 of those keys in depth. So the regular price for the program, if you're wondering, which contains over 25 hours of training videos, 5 ebooks, is $780. So it's pretty expensive, but because it's the holidays, with a special code PokerNews, you can get it for just $499. So big savings. It's the perfect Christmas gift for the poker player you know who's ready to go all in on their game and level up. Find out more at gripst.com/all-in. That's gripst.com/all-in. And if $499 is a little too much to invest, Gripst also has a brand new training program called Project Get Me Stackin', which includes all the best lessons from the original Bankroll Challenge series and much more, which you can join absolutely free at gripst.com/stackin. gripst.com/stackin. So if you want to get a taste about what Gripst is all about, check it out. That's Gripst, gripsed.com/stackin, STACKIN. There you go. Take what you can learn, go out there and get stacking this holiday season. Now that that's out of the way, Jeff, let's talk some news and notes. The EPT Prague is in full swing right now. And, you know, Stephen Chidwick, I guess it just wouldn't be right closing out 2019 without making some noise, without getting another win. And he did it in the 50,000 super high roller, defeated Bertrand Grospellier, a.k.a. Elke, heads up to win it for over $800,000. And then coming in third place, a guy we just talked about in the last Poker News podcast, Adrian Mateos, who, by the way, in between now and then, won a $10K over there at the EPT Prague. So, I mean, geez, like I said, Adrian Mateos, he's a beast.
Yeah, Adrian Mateos just absolutely on fire. And you said it. I mean, no surprise to see Stephen Chidwick's name at the top of a leaderboard in a high roller. Although I thought it was interesting that he said, you know, he hasn't really had good success at PokerStars festivals, as random as that is. So it's his first win over he says, I think this is my first win over 25K at a PokerStars event. I'm sure he means over a 25K buy-in. This was a 50K. And, you know, just a final table of absolute heroes and stone cold killers: Chidwick, Elke, Mateos, Steve Dwyer, Jean-Noel Thoreau, and Ben Heath. So, again, no surprise at all to see Stephen Chidwick crushing it.
You know, Ben Heath, just talked about him in the Gripst, you know, the Gripst training course. So obviously there he is, 6th place, $165,000. But, you know, the EPT Prague, I've been there many times for Poker News. It's always a great way to close out the year before the holidays. And, you know, the main event is still coming up. We still got some other big high rollers. So definitely we'll recap more of that on the next Poker News podcast. Another big tournament, Jeff, that has recently wrapped up was actually the online event of the year, the Party Poker Millions online. And, it was a big one. A $10,000 buy-in drew 2,108 entries. So it passed the $20 million guarantee, 2.2 million up top for Benjamin Chalot. It goes by French Sniper online. He actually worked a heads-up chop with Lucio, who also got $2.2 million. So, I mean, man, what a massive turnout and another big success for Party Poker.
Yeah, I'm just so impressed that they set the bar so high with the $20 million guarantee. And that, Chad, is without re-entry. You can't re-enter on the same day. So you could play up to 4 bullets, but you'd have to do them on the separate day one. So, props to Rob Young and Party Poker for setting a guarantee this high, and props to them for hitting it. I'm just very impressed all the way around with Party Poker lately.
Yeah, and finishing in 5th place was John Duffy. If that name sounds familiar, it's because, John Duffy's a legend in the poker world. He is responsible for starting the EPT way back in the day, parted ways with them, and then became the Party Poker Live president. So now he's taken a lot of what he did with the EPT and growing it to Party Poker's live events. And we've seen his influence because those events are huge as well. We just talked about the one that wrapped up in the Bahamas. And, if I might say so, and I know there's others out there who agree with me, John Duffy, he needs to be either nominated or in the Poker Hall of Fame because he's proven himself, his contributions to poker over the years, and himself as a player. He's won many tournaments, and here he is again going deep in this huge online tournament for $869,000. In my opinion, he needs to be on that list.
I completely agree with you, no question about it. And let's get him in there. Let's get him in the Poker Hall of Fame. Let's go.
Well, we've got some time because the World Series of Poker is going to be where that is determined. And speaking of which, Jeff, I know this wasn't on the outline because this broke today. We got the presser in the email not long ago, but the WSOP has announced their dates and some tournaments for this summer. The 2020 World Series of Poker is going to be at the Rio as expected, and is going to run from Tuesday, May 26th through Wednesday, July 15th. And the main event will be July 1st through the 14th. It's going to have 3 different starting flights. So same old there with the main event. And then the seniors event, I know a lot of people are interested in that. They did reveal the date on that. It's going to kick off at 10 a.m. on Thursday, June 18th. And then perhaps the biggest news to come out of this press release, Jeff, is going to be the return of the Big 50. Now, some people might be wondering, it's the 51st annual World Series of Poker, which is true, but that also means it's the 50th anniversary of the WSOP. It's strange how that works, but that is the way it is. So Big 50 still applies here to me, and I think it's going to be another massive turnout. It has the potential to be bigger than next year because this year they'll be more prepared. They'll schedule it right. They'll have people staffing so they can run those re-entries through faster and things like that.
Yeah, 4 different days of starting flights, 28,371 entries last year. So it makes sense that they're going to run it back. And they also said for their main event that you are allowed to register on day 2, that you have a level on day 2 to register. That drew a bit of controversy last year. That was the first time that they opened registration up for day 2. I don't like that for the World Series of Poker main event. I see why they do it. I know they're going to get a bump in people because they do it. I just, I feel like for the main, you need to start playing on day 1.
Yeah, and who knows? They might end up throwing some more changes our way. The WSOP likes to operate very piecemeal with their schedule and their details. And by that, I mean, they don't want to give us it all at once because that would just be overload, too much to absorb, too much to get out there. So I expect over the next probably 2 months that the WSOP will release press releases like this that will talk a little bit more about, new events that are going to be on the schedule, maybe events that are going to be changing in their structure or format, maybe new buy-ins, things like that. So expect for us to talk more about the 2020 WSOP here on the Poker News podcast, even though it's like still 6 months away. It's crazy how that, it rolls around so fast every year.
But it's the big time, so we gotta talk about it. We gotta rev it up. Everybody's got to plan their trips. I love it.
Speaking of trips, Jeff, I'm going to be heading down to the Seminole Hard Rock in Florida for the Moneymaker event. And then I'm going to come straight out to Vegas, out in your neck of the woods, for the Win Winter Championship. Will be live reported on PokerNews. Whilst I'm there, I'm going to fire a couple bullets in the side events of the WSOP circuit at Harrah's. And then the 5 Diamond is also going on during that time. And I believe PokerGO is going to have some Poker After Dark stuff going on around that time too. So
that's right. Holidays with Hellmuth, December 19th. And then we'll have the final table of WPT 5 Diamond on December 21st.
There you go. And, I don't know who we'll have on the next episode as our guest, but I'll definitely try to grab somebody while I'm out there in Vegas. And who knows, maybe we can meet up and maybe even do a podcast in person.
Live.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, let's do it. And maybe I'll have a voice when we do it. Maybe.
Right?
Maybe not.
Well, it's been a pleasure trying to step up a little bit more in this episode, encouraging listeners to be sure to subscribe, rate, follow us on Twitter. I'm at Chad A. Holloway. Is it at Jeff Platt?
Yes, sir.
Nice and easy. And what is it? What is it that Sarah says?
I believe she says deuces.